Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of the Daily Red. It is Sunday, the 8th of September. It's still 6 days until the Reds play. It's still international football. There's still stuff we don't want to see, like the Reds playing. And there's bad news, ladies and gents. The bad news being that, unfortunately, the rest of the footballing world has pretty much woken up to the fact the Reds are brilliant at football, even the international type. So we'll go through the normal headlines. We'll go through how the boys have been getting on. We'll talk about the bad news. We'll talk about what people have been saying as well. And when I talk about what people have been saying a lot about different things. And one that sort of really caught my eye today didn't really seem a realistic option or that much in it. And, it could just be agent talk, but Cesar Huerta's agent has opened up on his failed move. So it was a weird one that came about, wasn't it, right near deadline day, that we were moving for the Mexican winger, the Pumas forward. We were trying to get him on loan to a championship club, and go from there. 12 goals in 14 matches, the youngster. So what did his agent say? He said, he confirmed it was true, and pretty much said the quality of the other options was not strong enough for Huerta to grow to be a Liverpool player in 2025. That was the idea, and Liverpool only wanted England, and by law could not loan another Premier League player. Not all teams needed the position or could guarantee minutes during the 24-25 season. He deserved better, but life is like that sometimes. Interesting, eh? Sunderland maybe they felt they had better, didn't need better, because it's interesting because they sold Jack Clark and a few others right near the deadline. But yeah, it'd be interesting to know if any others were tried. But it does seem that we did try and do a deal for Cesar Huerta, but not to be. So his agent has been talking there. Speaking of talking, everyone knows about Salah, Van Dijk, Alexander-Arnold's contract situation. So when you need an educated football opinion, who do some people go to naturally? Troy Deeney. That's who TalkSport went to, Troy Deeney. So what did he say yesterday? He said there was talk in football that Salah's extension rocked the boat a little bit because it was so far above anyone else that it kind of made Liverpool go, hold on. Everybody else came to the forefront like, where's my money? You said, Van Dijk is not getting any younger, but I think this is going to sound really harsh. But in order of priority, I would have gone Salah first, Van Dijk second, then Trent. What I mean by that is you're going to need at least two players to recreate what Salah gives you goals and assist-wise. Centre-back, every centre-back they've got apart from Van Dijk is a number two. It's very difficult to go out and find, as Manchester United are to find that number one centre-back. I think of the three, he is the easier one to replace. This is why Liverpool fans do not ask for Troy Deeney's opinion, because Troy Deeney is not connected to Liverpool. So the whole point about talking in football that it rocked the boat, it's a big wage. It's the top earner for a massive player. It's not that complicated to understand why Mo Salah is on 350 grand a week. Goals pay the bills in football, don't they? And a player that gets over 20, pretty much each season, we don't even need to justify this, do we? Don't get me wrong. We all know exactly why Mo Salah is the top earner. It didn't rock the boat because the others are on big wages as well. We know we improved them at the same time. And also the fact that he's talking. This is what he said. Salah first, Van Dijk second, Trent third. Well, Trent's the most valuable player. Trent is one where you can argue there's a £150 million player walking out the door for free. So the bean counters, the analysts, etc., are probably quite rightly thinking that's the priority. Salah has also confirmed that he wishes to stay pretty much, haven't we? We've seen numerous reports now from Mel Reddy, Paul Gore, Stephen Fabrizio Romano saying it. So you can argue that. And Van Dijk, well, we all hope, don't we, as well? But I think it's just a classic example of why don't listen to Troy Deeney. And even, I didn't think this was possible, but he's replaced Garth Crooks, hasn't he, on the BBC sort of rate or team of the week. And you know the nonsense that Garth Crooks has come out with about Salah, etc. before. I actually didn't think it was possible, but the one I saw the other day was a worse job. So what's the life lesson? Ignore anything about Liverpool. Troy Deeney says, simple as that. The other person who's been talking about Liverpool is a former Liverpool player and someone that is, was well liked, a real cult hero for the year. He was really, making it happen that famous treble year under Gerard Houllier. Marcus Babbel. So he was talking to new betting sites, and what did he say? He actually said that Real Madrid were in for him at the time. He said, yeah, Real Madrid wanted me. And it was a funny story because there was an agent there. He said, listen, tomorrow I'll bring you £1 million if you're going to go somewhere else, if you sign for Real Madrid. And I said, oh, thank you very much. But Real is not my club. If I go to Spain, the only club I was signed for is Barcelona. And the funny thing is, I was on the way to Liverpool to sign the contract, 6 a.m. in the morning. And what comes on the radio? Spectacular. Marcus Babbel is going to sign for Real Madrid. He was also asked a bit more about, you have any regrets at his time at Liverpool, the way, obviously, if you think back to Marcus Babbel, sensational, wasn't he, at right back in that first year, alongside the famous Hippier Honcho pairing, and then obviously the treble, and then obviously, unfortunately, the illness, and then just never quite the same from there, unfortunately. So he said, yeah, I have regrets, but that's part of my life now. Of course, I was a bit sad after the fantastic first season. I always say, okay, this illness happened. I can't change it anymore, and it was a bad period. The only thing I sometimes think is the illness will come a year later, that I could play a second year for Liverpool, but it's happened, and to be fair, after this illness, I wasn't the same person as before. I don't know, maybe in England in the same, in Germany, you say the most important thing is the health, but you just say it, But I was in a bad period and I was really lying on the bed and I was thinking I'd give all my money back, all my titles back, just to be healthy again. Yeah, it's quite an interesting interview. He talks about, into drinking, the incident where he got sent off in the reserve derby, all those types of things. But yeah, so Marcus Babbel talking. Out of everything I've told you so far, probably the one to have a watch of, a read of, if you can see it in the Echo as well. Very much there, ladies and gentlemen. So those are the people who've been talking in football around Liverpool-related items. Naturally, the theme for this one again, it's internationals, isn't it? Everyone's going to see this different, and you will pick it different from me. I see it from a Liverpool point of view as bad news. And let's just go for the minutes section, first of all. Marmadashvili, I know he's not officially a Liverpool player yet, or he's on loan at Valencia, however you want to put it, 90 minutes. Love the fact he's afterwards with the sort of Georgian Ultrany on the microphone. Something about that boy, very likeable. But, and again, you'd argue a keeper. You'd also argue Kelleher, 90 minutes as a keeper, maybe needed it. And that's the good side, to keep that playing. And also Cody Gakpo played 66 minutes for Holland, got a goal as well. So maybe that was a player who, in a good name, needed a bit of ticking over, got a goal. Maybe he almost could have done with the 90 minutes. Who knows in that regard? You think Tsimikas, he definitely needs minutes. He got 90 for Greece, got an assist. So you could look at that as the best of the situation for me and say maybe players who needed minutes got minutes, that type of thing. It's good for Gakpo to get a goal, Tsimikas an assist, etc., etc. I can understand that. That's the good side I could make. The problem is you come to the bad part. Trent, and we'll come on to his performance and everything, played 90 minutes. Szoboszlai played 90 minutes against Germany, and that was a lot of chasing around, and Germany well and truly pummeled Hungary. Van Dijk played 90 minutes. Ryan Gravenberch played 90 minutes, and we'll come on to him as well at the same time. Now, even thinking today, Portugal, Scotland, so you're expecting Robbo to play 90 minutes. Jota, not always a popular person for Portugal. You cannot pretend that for 1 second. Wouldn't mind if he sat this one out, or they just didn't. Ronaldo was there, etc., and he didn't get a look in. But you fully expect Robbo there, don't you? And it's Bulgaria, Northern Ireland. Conor Bradley will be playing, won't he? I mean, he played kind of a right-sided position, didn't he, in the last game? Maybe he's higher up, so we might see that again, I suspect. I don't know for definite. And I suppose you could argue that Conor Bradley could do with some minutes, but he's getting them as understudy for Trent, and I'm mixed on this one. So that's mixed news. The problem is what people are saying, again, and what people are writing. I don't see this as good news for Liverpool. I said yesterday, if you like your international football, power to you, fair play, good luck, all those types of things. But I don't see it that way at all. I just see it as a chance to get injured on international duty and be out for Liverpool, chance to have tired legs, to not be able to be at their best for Liverpool. And I talked about McAllister and Elliott yesterday. So I don't see it as a good thing. Virgil van Dijk made some comments. So a couple of things which I think are bad news for Liverpool in a way. Personally, he said, because he was asked about, he was quite emotional, it seemed, after that England defeat in the Euro. He said, I was super disappointed after that game versus England, full of emotion. I understand I might have come across as if I'd played my last game, but I am a fighter, I am a warrior. I will never say no to the national team. But why, Virgil? Because they say all sorts of things about you. We've heard them all. We've heard Van Basten, Hullet. I've seen, read and watched and been critical of both those players. I've read about it. Van der Vaart's pillager, other, famous Dutch players at certain times have been critical of you. The age years as well, I think, I think it would have been superb if he was just resting that body a bit at times in between the games. I really sincerely mean that. So, I'll be honest, and no one likes Koeman anyway, but even Koeman was talking about yesterday how he went and had that meeting. Wish he bloody hadn't. So, yeah, Van Dijk looks like he's carrying on. And also, he then was asked about, how much further. He said, I want to play another World Cup. So that's 2 years, isn't it? I know I am still more than good enough. I'm the captain of Liverpool, a consistent factor, and I feel excellent physically while I'm improving on the ball too. Yeah, no, didn't want to hear that as well. Another 2 years worth of international duty. And there may be Dutch listeners. Fair play to you if you disagree with me. I don't really care. I do not want to see Virgil van Dijk say playing all the games because of his age and all that type of scenario. It's pretty straightforward why a Liverpool fan would have been quite happy with his retirement then. I don't think it's hard to understand. It's the fact he's thinking, and then I'm not saying this will happen, by the way, but then you just wonder with all the talk around his contracts, what Hughes and Edwards make of that small bit. I don't think it will be a deal breaker by any means, but it would have just sounded nicer, wouldn't it, if he wasn't? So I saw that from a Liverpool perspective as bad news personally. Then we got on to Ryan Gravenberch, who's obviously been absolutely sensational since the start of the season. Sensational, no two ways about it at all. Been brilliant. And he played as well, like Virgil and Gakpo against Bosnia in their 5-2 victory last night. And afterwards, everyone was raving about him. Rafa van der Vaart, who's never shy at criticising players, as we know, said Ryan Gravenberch is playing very good, super sharp, looking like a free man, super dynamic, always between the lines. He is playing with so much confidence, it's finally coming out. That's a little bit of bad news for me, because if you think of the Euros, didn't play a single minute, didn't he? And he talked about how that had fired him up and, he dealt with it and how he's using it. And he's using it to some effect. There's zero doubt at all. I mean, you look at his performance in this game from a stats perspective, and it's unreal. So unfortunately, did play the full 90 minutes, but a 92% pass accuracy, 2 chances created, 2 out of 3 successful dribbles. There's one, and again, people start to make comps of this, haven't they? When he drops his shoulder a couple of times, as we're almost getting used to, like, a signature move in that position now. It really is. 2 out of 2 accurate crosses, 2 out of 2 accurate long balls. 1 is tackled, just the 1. 4 out of 7 ground duels won. 8 recoveries, 3 interceptions. Those recoveries and interceptions, we're getting used to seeing those. So that's great when they're in a Liverpool shirt. My worry is now, as before the Euros, you'd have thought, oh, brilliant, at least, he'll rest in between. But unfortunately, the Dutch just so happened to have woken up to Ryan Gravenberch. And interesting that maybe the first one was Arne Slot realised what he had on his hands. But yeah, now unfortunately, Ronald Koeman might and others might at the same time. And also, the fact that they're praising them at this moment in time, we know especially how the Dutch work. Dutch love a scapegoat, don't they? Almost as much as England fans. That's the one thing I'd say they really rival with, the scapegoating. So, yeah, for that, I do not see it as a good thing. And speaking of scapegoats, Gareth Southgate's favourite one, Trent Alexander-Arnold played yesterday, didn't he? He played against the Republic of Ireland, and his performance was largely brilliant. They misplaced a few passes at the end when the game had already gone, but up to then, in that sort of right back, inverted into the central midfield, ran the game. I mean, that pass where because they're sitting off him, Ireland, threaded between the bit of slice on it, centre halves, Anthony Gordon to run onto it. And he misses, but just the pass alone, absolutely sensational. What's crazy this season is Trent Alexander-Arnold doesn't have an assist. Let's think about that for a sec. Doesn't sound much in the cold light of day, but Trent Alexander-Arnold does not have an assist. Now, let's put this into perspective, because he should have 4. That's what we should be talking about, a player with 4 assists already in 4 games. Because Jota misses the easy header against Ipswich when he puts on a plate for him. So that's 1. Jota also misses that, or it's blocked, you could argue, that cutback, but he should score it against Brentford. That's 2. Yesterday, Harry Kane, that header. It's a great cross from Trent, isn't it? That's whipped in, and he just kind of doesn't really quite measure his header well. So that's number 3. And I know someone's going to say they're not in a red shirt. I get that. But Anthony Gordon should have had 1. And I'm sure if I was to look back and, at certain things, I could probably find more or possible ones. But he should be on at least 4 assists. I mean, he's lucky not to be on the goal when the first one was disallowed at Old Trafford. But it's just weird, isn't it, when say not a single assist. But the start he's had to the season, he should be on an assist a game. Been absolutely sensational. And in this one, I also see this as just bad news, because Southgate had marginalised him. He had Kyle Walker, Kieran Trippier, players of that ilk in place for him. What's unfortunately happened is it does seem Lee Carsley has a bit of a clue about football, and unfortunately has put in Trent front and centre, absolutely key to his plan. So that seems like bad news. He was also named man of the match yesterday. So again, he's going to start probably the next game, isn't he? Key player, having just played 90 minutes as well, with all the games we've got coming up. I mean, I'm looking here in the Mail, and they've done a big feature piece on him, saying, and he starts, look at this line, Trent Alexander-Arnold unlocked. Those Liverpool persuasions may not have batted an eyelid at the right-back swashbuckling performance here in Dublin. They are accustomed to his marauding burst down the wing. They are used to seeing him pop up in central midfield, where he can showcase his passing range to devastating effect. But those who follow England won't necessarily recognise this Alexander-Arnold, whose international career up to this point has been average at best. We know all this, absolutely. We know there can be something called football kryptonite, or Gareth Southgate, as some may also know him at the same time. That's just the way things work. But I really don't see any of this as good news for Liverpool particularly. There are so so many games coming up in the near future. Trent now looks like almost England were, I think Cosm has set the team up around him yesterday, didn't he? And like even Gordon was about having pace in behind for Trent's passing, the right back invert into midfield. It was all done for Trent, and he delivered that pass, the man of the match award. Look at the articles and stuff now coming in. And some might say, oh, you're going to go up to a different level. No, we can't. We've already seen him world class. He's the best right back in the world. We already know this. The worry is now he will do some of this in an England shirt. And they've got their scapegoat back, haven't they? That is the big worry for me. It's great now. It's great now why it's, it's qualified. You know how England normally, that team that wins 8 out of 8, or whatever. I don't really watch England that much, don't get me wrong. But we know what can be coming when it goes wrong. So I have to be honest on what I've seen from the international break. Not trying to ruin your Sundays at all, but the rest of the footballing world has realised that the Reds are mustard and brilliant for their international teams. The bad news for us is just that. They could start playing a bit more. Don't doubt for 1 second that it's probably helped a little bit this season, that with all the issues and the uprooting for Liverpool, that Trent hardly played anything. Canate and Grav didn't play a single minute in the Euros. That wouldn't have hurt us at all. Now, look how many played 90 minutes and first team players, first 11 players. So, yeah, we will see. Hopefully, Diogo's left out today. Hopefully, well, Robbo's going to start in. We'll see, and Bradley is saying, but let's just hope we manage it. There's still a lot more, a load more fixtures to come in the next week or so ahead of Forest when we return. Other things just to call out, ladies and gents. Media Matters will be back tomorrow as ever with David Lynch. Red Alert will be coming out soon as well, possibly tonight, possibly tomorrow morning. So that will be the normal way we do it with Mark and James around a bit of a review of August and the key topics. So that will be one to you for you to listen out for. Yeah, we'll see what else happens, eh? But on Sunday, the 8th of September, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and not long until this dastard international break is over.